Hello you lovely people, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel if you've been here before. My name's Kirsten and this is where I art and craft. Today I'm going to do a flip through of my junk journal July. It's going to be a bit more than a flip through. I'm going to tell you about each of the pages. I did junk journal July mostly on Instagram, which is linked down below if you want to follow me on Instagram. There was a couple of pages I think I probably didn't post every day, so there might be a couple of pages that even if you've been on Instagram you didn't see. Let's get on with it because this video is in danger of being a long one if I talk. I did this cover. This cover is that kind of, it's paper, but it's Indian cloth paper, and it had this nice design. Now the overall theme was pink this year, so I thought, well, we'll go for a pinky cover. Use some pink sari to do, and then these are typewriter letters that I think they came from the Digital Collage Club, and I've not put them on straight to kind of emphasize the junk nature of it. This is a cutout from, I'll link her down below, I can't remember her name off the top of my head. Fabulous stuff she does. She's got an Etsy shop. It's the only person I'd ever buy cutouts from because I tend to cut out myself, but she does this with a machine and they just look brilliant. And these three part of the digitals that were given to us for Junk Journal July this year. These are some of the other digitals that were given first for Junk Journal July that I used to line the inside of my journal. And this is day one. Whoops, did I slip it up there? I did. We'll slip it back, shall we? This is day one, and spark. And creativity is intelligence having fun. And this is a Van de Graaff with its copper wires being the sparks. I did this circle out of acetate and then a bigger circle out of this stuff, which is a colour catcher from the washing machine. And then that became a pocket. This is another bit of this. That's kind of got a spark on it. This is an envelope with a light bulb stamped on it. Day two was postcard, and I just love this little postcard here. She's got her, I sanded it down a bit because it was very shiny. It's still shiny. She's got a bird in her hand and a nest in her skirts. So I added this, which I love this pigeon. Was it a turtle dove? I can never quite make my mind up. I added them in the nest, and then I've written the words here. I think, my dear, it would be best if you hopped into your little nest. And that was postcard. This was day three. I love doing this. This is, the day was fold, and I folded, I don't know if you can see that, I folded all this down, folded this bit as well, which I put the date on. That's the prompts. There was also another thing of prompts, and that's all folded away in there as well. I do love my folding my papers. Oops. There we go. And that's just an old jelly print there. The next one was labels, and this is a label I'd made, this one up here, and these are labels that I then stamped and did things to. I will never match your labels, so let's not use them. I also used some hole reinforcement, so it's just a kind of decorative page, that one. This one was a good fun. I got out my letter. I've got big wooden printing letters, and I got out these three in particular, and behind that there's a paper that's got letters on it. It was lettering was the prompt, papering with letters on it. I covered it over with faux rice paper, put fun, F-U-N, in the pocket. This backing's got some printing on it, then it's got some more lettering in the fact of it's already book page, then it's got more lettering over the top of it. And I made these two postcards of New York. That one's a kind of thing, and that's the thing at the Empire State Building. So you've got NY, because I had a smaller N and a Y as well, and that means you've got, yeah, are you laughing? Ah, yeah. The next day was wildlife, and I've done this bison and put a poem inside the flower fed buffaloes. Yeah, because it's a buffalo, not a bison, because of the buffalo. The flower fed buffaloes of spring in the days long ago ranged where the locomotives sing. And it's a poem about the fact that the flower fed buffaloes are no more, and all kinds of things. The locomotives, the wheat, have stopped the flowers blooming on the prairies, and so there was nothing for that. I love this stamp. This was the first time I'd used this stamp. I love this stamp. I'm so glad I got the stamp and so glad I was able to use it. This page is one of my favourites. The prompt was window, and as it so happened, just by pure chance, hold on, I'm trying to do this without knocking you. There was windows on the page that was in my journal. I just keep sliding, sorry. So I made a window because I didn't want to cover up the window, seeing the prompt was window. I made a window so you could still see the page, and then I made a tag to go in the window with a window in it, so you could still see even when the tag was in the page. Oops. Oh, see, trying to do these things just doesn't work sometimes. Even when the tag was in, you could still see the window. You could see the window through the window. I thought it was good. So I loved this one. Then, oh, this is the other side, because that was a paint chart, and this is the other side, and this was observe. So because this was a paint chart, and I thought, oh, that's quite good, because I can do a thing about observing your colours and things. So this isn't a colour wheel, but I had this design. I don't know where this scrap of paper came, but it had this kind of design on it, and I just thought, well, I kind of make that into a full colour wheel, and then it's about looking, observing what are the colours, so that you can do better next time, Kirsten. So just that wee tag, and that's a wee bit of splatter off cut, because I think sometimes it's the splattering we need to observe, and sometimes we need to look. Something else there. It's not always about just looking at the surface, it's about looking deeper. Love this one as well. This was scraps, and if you saw my Christmas in July videos, this was the Christmas crackers, the little bits that come out of where you pull them. Love this one. Love this. This was the trimmings. This was those little diamond shapes, and this was off my the diamond shapes off the prototype I made to make sure I wanted to make sure I was giving away the right size template. So I thought, make a prototype first, Kirsten, rather than just winging it. So this was them. And then these leaves were part of something else I was doing. I'd already cut out these butterflies. So these aren't butterflies. These are cut out butterflies. This is more bits of things that were lying about my desk. And mostly, see, that's a bit of a leaf. There was a leaf in there. This here is actually also a cutout of a butterfly, and it's actually two pansies have made up that butterfly's wings, which I think is quite sweet. Actually, I quite like that. And I used this. I then decided I wanted to put some stamping over it. Used this as a mask to stamp over that, and then I thought, oh, I'll just put that down there. So that went down there before I then stamped again. Or did I stamp? I stamped first, and then I needed to stamp again down here, and I thought, actually, I could just use that mask. And I like that kind of, because it's an echo, but do you really notice until I said it? No. So I kind of really love that page as well. Oh, this page was so much fun. The prompt was thread, and I didn't really know what I was going to do, and I thought, I don't want to be predictable. What can I do that's different? Because I like to kind of find a wee twist on the prompts, and I couldn't get thread count out my head, and I thought, how can I do thread count? I can't just put a sheet, that doesn't make sense or anything. And then I suddenly remembered Count from Sesame Street, and I thought, no, Muppets from Muppet. No, Sesame Street, isn't it? Sesame Street. And I thought, oh, I need to go and find Count Von Count. And I found this image of Count Von Count, and I just thought, oh, he's wonderful because I can have the threads all catching round his fingers as he counts them. And so we've got these threads coming down here as he counts them, and it's thread count. And I did an extra bit of sewing down here. Loved that one. This one was stamp, and I have had a sheet of these faux stamps that had been kind of die cut into place, and I, with pink being the colour, I kind of just did some with my distress crayons. That looks like it's picked raspberry, and that's a bit of tea dye, and I don't know what the other colour might be, but anyway, I did a bit of colouring of it. I then stamped on it. Don't know if you can quite see. There's a big owl stamp. There's the owl's beak. There's the bottom of the owl's eyes. Here's the very tip of the tail. Here's one going up to one of his ears. That's his wing at the side. And then I tore it all apart and reassembled it differently on the page, just so it wasn't. So it was more about the stamps than the owl. I did it my way, and I actually did just highlight a few wee bits of the owl just to kind of mix it up a bit. But it's a lovely owl stamp. That's from IndioBlu. It's a lovely one. This one was packaging. I was going to say it was a tea paper, but it wasn't. That comes later on. This one's packaging. And I usually have turmeric tea or ginger tea when I'm sitting at my craft desk. I don't today, but I usually do. And I just thought, let's use the packaging from that tea. So, because I can use the packaging, and I can also use the tea bag, because the tea's packaged inside the tea bag. So I've used this stencil, and then made a wee card with this. This stamp is an AALL Create. AALL Create do a series of stamps, different countries and things, and this was the Indian one. And actually, that Indian stamp there is also from that same wee set. And a wee bit of decoration along there. That's the tab that you pull your tea bag out with. A wee paisley pattern stamp on there, and just another wee tag with kind of Indian influences in it, and another wee bit of the tag. So we used the packaging of the tea bag where the tea bag was packaged in. I've also highlighted this in gold, but I'm not sure if you can see that. This one was light, and I did a wee play on words with this one. I did this kind of very light, not a tight, but light weaving. I also used a light, not a heavy thing. This is raffia paper, and I stamped feathers that are also light, and then I put this light bit of material on the backing to back it, but it reflects the light, so we saw the light. It's ways of light that can't be seen and can be seen, and the different textures and ways that light can be observed. This was weather. I had fun with this one. This was weather, and the day before I thought, well, let's have a look and see what the weather's going to do tomorrow, and then that might give me an idea as to what I might do. And it was cloudy, so I did this wee face. And then I thought, well, I'm just going to take pictures of the clouds, because we have lots of cloudscapes where we live. We're quite high up, although we're urban. Well, we're more than urban. I mean, we're really in the middle of a town, just about, and we're quite high up. So we do actually get really good cloudscapes where we are. So I just thought I'm going to take pictures of the different kind of cloudscapes during the day. This was handmade, and I've had a hankering for quite a wee while of using Hessian in a journal and doing something that was a bit like a sample stitch that they used to do back in the day. And so I did it for this handmade one. This is a running stitch going up along here, and then I went back weaving the thread in and out the running stitches. This is a back stitch going up here. This is some made up leafy stitch that I made up, then a running stitch, and then some leafy stitch, and then a different size of running stitch, and a different size of running stitch, and a different size of running stitch. Then this is a back stitch, but it's the other side of a back stitch, so you get that kind of wrapping round. So you've got the long, whereas this is the short bits, this is the long bits when you're going back to get to where you next need to go. This was a running stitch down here, running stitch back up, and then I just wove so it's this bit over two lines, and because this is a thinner bit of wool, these are 3 separate bits of wool that I've had for a long time, and they were kind of given to me as kind of samples, and I've never really done anything with them, though I keep meaning to do something with them. Finally I have. This is a ladder stitch, which I then all the way up, and then I just brought the thread all the way back down again. Then I've done XV 15, well 5, 10, 5, 15, VII 5, 1, 1, 7, XXIV 10, 10, 1, 5, 24. So that's the date done in that, rather than stamping, because you might have noticed I've stamped the date on all my pages, but this one I thought I'd just do that, and because I still had that gap, and I thought, what am I going to do in that gap now? Because this I'd run out of this one, I still had a bit of this one, still had a bit of this one, and I thought, what am I going to do now in that gap? I thought, oh well, I could stamp a bit of paper and put it in. Then I thought, well, no, you could sew it in, and I thought, you can't sew 15, 7. Then I thought, I can if I do Roman numerals. Now no, I can't remember what that one was. What are we on, day 16? 16. Oh, actually, yeah, okay, that's petal. Right, let's do petal first, because otherwise I'll forget. That's petal. I really don't like this one particularly. I've used napkins with petals and petals from flowers, and then I cut off some petals separately. So we've got all these flowers, and then this is supposed to be like the petals down the bottom. Don't really like it at all, but it is what it is. This has reminded me that 15 is buttons, and that's this dangle I made because I wanted to use these 3 buttons. When I saw it was buttons, I thought this journal's getting awfully fat, but I've had these 3 buttons sitting on my desk wanting to be used for a long time, so I really wanted to use them. They're really old buttons. They're old family buttons that I think actually were my grandmother's, and I really just wanted to use them. So I thought, well, why don't I just make a dangle, and I added this button because it's almost a bell, and because I was doing Christmas in June, July, and I just thought I didn't want to put a bell on it, but I thought that's almost kind of, I don't know if you can hear that, it sounds almost like a bell. This wee wooden leaf, a wee bow, and then this really lovely Russian doll clay button. Studio Lu, Cindy at Studio Lu made that. This was it no, Fragile was Index Card a Day. What was this? 17, aged, and it was the fragility of age, that actually there's often strength in the fragility of age, and it ended up being this little flap that when I was putting this journal together and I sewed this envelope in, leaving this as a pocket, because to start with I thought I would open along down here and have 2 that way, and then I thought, no, leave an envelope because then you've got a pocket. And then when I got here I thought, well, do I put a tag in here? And then I thought, no, because then what you're doing is you're hiding the thing's age. You're hiding aged. Instead, celebrate the fragility, that actually it's still there, and there's strength in the fragility, and there's beauty in the fragility. And this paper I actually used is so brittle. I mean, so brittle, really is. It's from an old sports book, and it's actually so brittle that I ended up throwing away most of the paper, but I suddenly discovered I still had this particular bit, and I just thought I'm going to use this. And so these wee bits are because it literally, see, it just literally crumbles. It's forever crumbling. This is 2 days in Awana, tag, and what was the other? Freedom, free and tag. And I made a tag that was, it's got these keys in there. I've put a slot, so that's kind of unlocking that, and there's, you know, keys, and I also used pride ribbon, because it's actually about freedom. Is about more than being locked up. Sometimes we're locked up emotionally, sometimes we're locked up because of other people's opinions of us or whatever. So, and just made this wee 3 keys there. Now you could say that was cheating. I think it was being smart, because I was very busy. This kingfisher, I have had him forever. And this was this colours? This one was colours. This one was 20. Picture, oh, this picture, it was picture. And I'd had this kingfisher forever. I mean, literally, no, okay, literally not forever. About 7 years, something like that, at least. And I just loved him, and I'd just never found a place to put him. And I suddenly thought, right, because I didn't know what to do for a picture, and I thought, take that kingfisher, it's a picture, and do something with it, because you really like it, so do something with it. So I mounted it on this bit of card that I'd previously sprayed and everything, and I had this bit of kind of chrysanthemum paper to put in the back, so that's like he's already on his branch. And then I thought, but he's actually a bit big for that page, and do I trim him down and put him in, you know? And then I thought I could put him in as if he was diving for his fish. So I had this bit of old painting that I'd torn up, and I had this bit of it's another bit of those colour catchers, and I have this little fish, and I just thought, let's have him doing what he does best, fishing. And I know he wouldn't be, I know he would be up that way, but I just, it's kind of, yeah, it amused me. I'm just making sure you're still in shot. Colours. And we have this colourful background, we have this colourful belly band, we have this colourful card with the paintbrushes, and we have a quote from Georgia O'Keeffe. I found I could say things with colours and shapes that I couldn't say any other way, things I had no words for. This was Remember, was it Remember? 22. Timeless, it was Timeless. And I used Timeless as a remember. What's timeless? The remembering. And the remembering sows the seeds for the love to live on timelessly. So these are the seeds of the same woman who does this on the front. It's just I love her stuff. And so this is a kind of poppy behind, and I did this kind of red distress. It didn't distress much actually, which is interesting. Background to kind of signify that sometimes memories can be hard, but actually it's in the remembering, the love lives on, and it's the timeless nature and stuff. So that was that one. This was, can't remember what this one was either. It's another fun one. 23. This was tipping. This was tipping. So this is one of this is a Tracy Fox window frame. Can't remember what they're called. Wallpaper frames, I think it is. And a wee nest with an egg. And then when you open it up, we've got a bird on his feather, on his twig with some leaves. Get some wee corners on. Hope is a thing with feathers that perches on the soul and sings a tune without the words and never stops at all. And sweetness is the gale is heard, and so must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and in the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a crumb for me. And it does look like it wants a crumb. It's hoping for a crumb. That's a poem by Emily Dickinson. This was, oh yeah, this was ephemeral. I think some people thought it was ephemera, but it was ephemeral. And that kind of timeless nature, something that never ends, but is also just lasts for a day, but it still never ends. So I actually thought birthday. So I dug out a birthday card, an old birthday card, and just kind of put it there as because the birthday lasts just a day, but it's something beauty and special because it's just a day, even though you kind of think about it leading up to it and afterwards. And sometimes you have these birthdays that last a whole month just because you don't see somebody until a month later. I had a very dear friend. She died 3 years ago now. And we used to speak virtually every day, but we didn't see each other in person very much, and we always ended up with birthday presents being given out of the season, as it were. And so this kind of page reminds me very much of her. This one was tea paper, and so I've put some more tea bags down here. Tea, a warm and cosy beverage that makes everything better and solves all life's problems, also known as a hug in a mug. And I printed this cup that kind of shifted slightly because of the tea bag. I should have thought of that when I was painting and drawing around it, but never mind. Printed this cup and put a flower in it because I could. This is shadows, and this used some cyanotype paper. That's two different ones, but I just love the way the light. Choose to shine, overcome. Everything you are is enough, because sometimes we're in the shadow. I spend most of my life in the shadows, but that's fine. We had another poem day for this day. As sweet as the law which nature brings, our meddling intellect misshapes and bounteous forms of things we murder to dissect. Enough of silence and of art. Close up those barren leaves. Come forth and bring with all your heart that watches and receives. And I've just realised this is the owl I did earlier on. I didn't realise I'd used the owl twice. This owl here, this is the owl here, and it's not very obvious, that owl in that. But I was wanting it to be I wanted it to be a nature thing, but I wanted it to be something that was kind of harder to see and find, and that's why. And these kind of splashes of copper or the barren leaves. It was poetic was the prompt for that day. This is the only double page spread. What happened was I would pick up my book. Sometimes I would have looked the day before. Quite often I hadn't. And this particular time I hadn't. And oh, this is where buttons comes in. So buttons. So I hadn't looked because I'd done poetic. Then it was buttons. And so I hadn't looked to see it was contrast and what page, because sometimes I just turn over the page and I, oh, what's good, because I just turn over the page and go, oh, right, okay, right. I wonder what I'm putting there tomorrow, and it just starts meddling away in my mind. So I hadn't already known, so I went, oh, right, what are we with contrast? Where are we? Okay, where have we got to? Oh, we're on. Oh, and I had this lovely, this is another of Cindy at Studio Blu's papers. Oh, it was a button. I was saying it was Cindy at Studio. I'll link Cindy. I'll link all the things I've mentioned down below. I'll tell you what they were. This is another Studio Blu's, Cindy at Studio Blu's papers, and this was just a plain white, and I just thought, well, there's the contrast. Maybe I don't do anything, and then I thought, no, find a die and cut them and do a white cutout for this side, and a because I've got more of the paper, so I got another sheet of paper out and do that and do the cutout on that side. So I cut out, I decided, it took me a while until I finally thought I'll go for the feathers. Cut out the feathers in the white, cut out the feathers in the black cherry, I think it's called black cherry paper, and it's got a kind of lacy effect on it. Some of the pages are more obvious than others. It's got a kind of lacy effect on it, and cut it out. And then I thought, oh, I don't think I like the feathers on this page. And then I searched, because I've got a very small hand cranking die cut machine I use when I'm just doing a wee bit of die cutting like this, because I get such a faff getting the big one out. And I'd already cut them down into just, they were all slightly bigger than they are here, but I'd already cut them down into size, and I just thought, I'm going to use the silhouettes on this page. And I just think you get the contrast then of these are going this way, these are going this way, these are white on the kind of purple, these are purple on the white, these are the shapes, these are the shadows. So I just think it's a whole load of contrast going on there. So I'm really pleased with that page. And yet it's quite simple. It took a long time because of the die cutting, but I'm really pleased with that page. Oh, I love this page. I love this page. Sometimes you do something and you just get carried away with yourself and you think, that is just totally bonkers, nobody else is going to get it. Shine was the word here, the prompt, and this yellow on the blue is actually a sun that, if you've been watching me do my index card a day, you've probably seen lots of times, because it wasn't used in index card a day. And eventually what happened was, when I was on the 30th of July, I was actually doing the 31st of July's, and because then I was going to cut up stuff for the 30th of July's on index card a day. And I knew I wasn't going to use this because I was cutting out stars, and I knew I wasn't going to use this, so I thought I'd already put that aside to just go in my scraps to maybe be used in something. And I suddenly thought, I've got that sun, I'm going to use that sun. And then I laid it out, and of course it was too big, and I thought I could do it down the way, and then I thought, oh, that's silly. What else am I going to do? And I had this girl, and I thought, well, she can be looking at the sun shining. And then I thought, no, that's just a bit pathetic. And then I thought, I caught this out the corner of my eye because I've got a roll of it over there. And I thought, oh, I could use that. That's all shiny. That's shiny. So I put that down as a background, because the background this is the back of a card, and I just thought, need to cover that up anyway. Put that down as background. That's all shiny, shiny, shiny. And then we'll put the sun, and we'll put the sun down that way. Oh, we could make it her head. But then that was going to become very complicated, because she isn't actually big enough, and I thought, well, I could dig out something else, but then I thought, well, maybe not, because I quite like the fact that she's got her hair hanging down here, and this could be her hair hanging down. And then I thought, actually, this is going to be very complicated, and before you know it, she's going to just totally disappear, and it's going to lose the idea that it's her head. So I thought, let's just have her looking up at the sun. And then I found this moon, and I thought, let's put the moon on the sun and have her looking up. But because it's then, I wanted to then create this idea of it being a layered thing. So we've got the sun, and then we've got her, and then we've got the moon. So it's kind of a 3D kind of thing. So is she looking at just the sun, or can she see the moon as well? Because she's behind this, but the moon's in front of this. Yeah, I know, but I love it. And then we ended up yesterday with Celebrate, and as far as I'm concerned, the only way to celebrate is with a cocktail or two. So we've got 5, and I printed Celebrate behind. This is a Tim Holtz cocktail stamps. I think that's a Tim Holtz stamp as well, Celebrate stamp, isn't it? And it's printed on a book page, which is then stuck to that. And I'm conscious that I've got nothing on this back page, and I'm okay about that. I might write something about how I felt about Junk Journal in July, but that's my journal. I hope you had fun in this video. Maybe you got some ideas, because things can be done in other months as well. But until the next time, thank you so much for watching. You take care. Keep crafting. Bye for now.